Hi guys, welcome to Delaware Studios. We'll be taking a step backward to look at one of my tutorial, which is based on Android SQLite database with Recyclerview. That's the CRUD: create, read, update, and delete. In this particular tutorial, which we had earlier, we created and we read some of the data, and we yet to integrate the update and delete. But before we do that, I would like to bring something to our notice, whereby you'll be able to create a search functionality, and you get to search the card details of a recycler view, and hereby we'll be integrating the search view, and we'll call the onQuery text listener to actually have the search of a recycler view item. So from here, I'll be going straight to Android Studio, where I still have the source file of this particular application. So we'll be extending more on this. We'll integrate a search, and we'll be able to search for each item. Probably you have a long list of cards right there in the recycler view, up to 50 or 20, and you just want to search based on the beneficiary name, or you want to search based on the email address. You can easily tap on the search icon at the top bar and get your query done. So I'll actually be showing you how to integrate that in a recycler view layout based on data from the SQLite database. So right there in the rest, whereby I have the menu, still maintain the beneficiary search XML, whereby we have our menu to actually get the search menu implemented, and we actually use the drawable, which is the vector graphics, to actually depict the search icon. If you should notice, it's always black. You can easily change your color right there in the fill color. If you want it dark, you change to dark. But if you want it white based on the background you are laying this on, I think the background is a kind of wine, so white will be perfect on that. So I made it white. And the menu, whereby we have the beneficiary search, where I have an ID of search, and we call the icon, from the drawable, and also set the title and show as action. If there is room, you collapse the action view, and we call the action view class, which is the Android support version 7 widget search view. So I'll show you now. I'm going to actually implement all this in the Java source. We'll be moving straight to the beneficiary list activity, since that's where we're going to implement the search at the top bar. After you might have filled in the form and you have your recycler view with card layout, you can tap on the search icon at the top bar and sort out based on the beneficiary name or based on the beneficiary email address. For us to continue here, I would like to implement, so you can easily get the source code. It's right there in the GitHub link I sent to you in the first tutorial of this particular video. I will implement search view, which is from the widget, and we call the onQuery text listener, which is actually from the support version 7 widget as well. So we have to implement that firstly, and we're going to add this line of code immediately after the initialization of objects, before you get the data from SQLite. Let me show you what we're going to add. We need to actually create the options menu. We don't have the menu integrated to the code, so let's override public boolean, call it onCreate options menu. About will pass the menu from the Android view as the parameter object. So we're going to get menu inflator, and we try to inflate the layout, which is the menu layout. Call the menu, and we call the beneficiary search, which is the layout, and we pass the objects menu. That's fine. Now let's call the menu item, search. Now the menu object, find item, ID, search. So it's actually finding, I'll show you this. Let's go back to the menu. Let's quickly look at something. The menu, that's the beneficiary search. This ID that we assigned to the item, that's search. That's what we're calling right there in the Java code. And we are passing that to the menu item search. Now we call the search view, create an object, search view. So we cast the class search view, just like the way we do when we call text view or image view and find view by ID, others, But now we're going to call menu item compact, which is from the support version 4 view, to get the action view, which is search. Cool. Now we now use the search view created to set on query text listener to this class. We need to return a value, the boolean, so return true after setting that up. So we have the onCreate options menu right on course. Now we still need to override on options item selected. Let's do that. Call the public, also a boolean on options item selected, pass menu item as parameter item. Now we need to return the super on options item selected, and we pass the item as the parameter. That says it all. Now we need to override one other method, which is the on options. No, this time it's going to be on query text submit. When you submit the query you made, that's the search. You probably search for a name. So what's going to happen when you submit this? I will call this method superclass to override. Let's override it. Public, also boolean query text submit, pass a string, an object of query. Now we return false. That's for the onQuery text submit. Now we're going to have one other one, which is onQuery text change. When you change the text, we're actually going to handle different activities or different changes that might happen during the process of clicking the search icon and trying to query the Recyclerview list. We have the public, boolean, on query text change, pass string, new text. Sorry for that. New text. This time on query text change, we're going to call the new text. So I want you to look at this closely. Let's shade new text. What about we pass to lowercase? So anything you pass into the search string, probably it's is in caps, is actually going to take that and convert it to lowercase. That's what you've just seen. Now we call the array list Now we want to do some comparison to the list we have. Pass the class beneficiary, which is new list. Now we instantiate with a new array list. So we're going to use the for each loop. So for each beneficiary to the list of beneficiary. Call the string name, which equals to beneficiary. That's the beneficiary object. Don't forget. Now we get the name and we convert to lowercase. We have a beneficiary model that we created earlier. Now we're getting the name over here, this method which returns name, and we're now converting to lowercase. So anything you have, you convert to lowercase. Now we still need to test for if the name contains the new text. That's if it contains what you're passing in. That's just it. The new text, which we've actually converted to lowercase, and we've also convert the name itself to lowercase. So it's must. So if it contains this, it returns the value. That's just the logic. Now call the new list to add that particular beneficiary. That's that. So without said and done, you've been able to compare what you're passing in and what you have in the list beneficiary with this for loop, and also with the if statement to be sure if it contains the new text. With other comparison, even if it's true or false, you need to return the beneficiary recycler adapter. You need to notify the beneficiary recycler adapter, which is actually holding on to the view of the cards, and you call set filter, which we'll be creating right there in the adapter, and we'll pass the new list. So it has to change. That's the essence of that. But we still need to return true this time. Perfect. Now we need to make effect a change right there in the beneficiary recycler adapter. But before I do that, just let me make my code simple. Unused fields should be taken off. Don't keep them. Look at your code very well. Set filter. All right. Now we're going back to the adapter, the beneficiary recycle adapter. And now we don't need this. Take away this. Don't need a list, a filtered list. At the same time, you're going to call the list beneficiary. Get the size of all the list beneficiary you have in the recycler view. Now we're going to implement a method here, which is public void set filter. Now it takes the parameter of the array list as the beneficiary, also with a new list. Now we call the list beneficiary, instantiate with the new array list, and the object list beneficiary. Try to add what we get, which is add all from the query, which is also the new list, value of the new list, and we have to notify the Recyclerview data set change. Pass it on the list beneficiary. We have to notify that there must be a change on the recycler layout. There must be, the comparison has been done. Now the add all has actually got the list, the values needed, and now it must notify the dataset change to actually show that to display. So that's just how to integrate the search. If you notice, the search is actually going to work. And let's go back to the beneficiary list. Just do a rundown of how we actually made this work. We've actually have the array lists for all beneficiaries that we have right there in this SQLite database. But we created an object called list beneficiary earlier on, which is by sitting here. The private array list beneficiary, list beneficiary, it has been used throughout the source. Whereby you get the init object, you pass the values to Recyclerview, and so on. So we get to on query text change. This actually is the chunk that actually did the search. Whereby we have the new list instantiated from the array list, and we have a for loop to loop through the list beneficiary we've had earlier, and now we pass the value of the get name to lower class of the beneficiary model as a name string. Now we need to test for what is being queried into what we have already. So that's the essence of the if statement. If the name contains the new text, add this up to the beneficiary. And for us to actually make this show, despite the fact that we set the new list to the filter, and this is being gotten from the recycler adapter to actually make that change, from the new list, and it's actually added to the new list, and it's notify the data set changed to the recycler. So I'll actually be showing the source code of this, the application in an emulator, and I'll also be sharing the source code as well. So stay by, don't go anywhere. Here we go with the application. We'll be filling up to 4 beneficiaries, so that we'll be able to test the search filter. The first name, let's call it Delay Jones. ID 53. Email. Scan. Address. Istanbul. Country. Okay. Register. Go back. This time let me call Titus. Nick. ID 147. Email. Titus. Example. Let's go. Address. Register. Moses. RG. Four, five, six. Email. That's example. Let's go. And see. USA. Let's have one. Let's call it Zulia. let's test the search. Firstly, let's search for titles. Do you notice that? TITUS, titles 2. The search worked perfectly. Now let's search for Moses. Can you see that? It worked. So that's just it. Let's search for Zulia. Can you see that? It worked perfectly. Let's search for who else? Who was on the list? I'm going to search for. Let's search for the first person on the list. Bamidele. Can you see that? It worked perfectly. So this is just how to integrate search filter into your Recyclerview from data, either from the cloud or from SQLite database. Thank you very much for hanging out with me throughout this tutorial. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Have a wonderful time. Bye-bye.